Hello, this is Shubhendu from Steamworks Studio. Uh, this is another edition of Scratch programming language and making fun programs with it. So let's get started. We are going to first go to Scratch. Kids who have already done that can know how to go there. Let's get in there. I'm going to go to my screen here and start sharing. Now you see that I have Scratch going on right here, and you should be able to see my screen right now. What you can see here is I can go to scratch.mit.edu like this and hit the create button after that. We are going to today make a space related game. So now first things, we are going to get rid of the X, this tutorial that's by default coming up here. We will select some sprites. So we're not going to use the cat this time. So we can click on the X right here and get rid of that. So we are going to click X. What we need for this game is a rocket ship. So we're going to go choose a sprite and look for a rocket ship. So you can start typing rocket and it'll show you. So we will get a rocket ship right here. You're going to select that. We're going to size it correctly. So we are going to put it at 4040. So it's a little bit smaller. Next thing, we're going to choose another sprite, and this time we're going to look for the Earth. So we're going to click on Earth, and we're going to size this to 50% size. Okay, next we need one more thing. We need the fuel or rocket fuel that powers the rocket while it's going through space. So what we're going to do is look for a crystal like this. And now we have a crystal right here, and we can make it a little bigger, like 120, which is makes it nice. And so these are all the sprites that we need. We need a rocket ship, we need an Earth, and we need a crystal. And if you see the sizes, I can change the sizes by going right here in this box called size, and I put in 120 for the crystal. For Earth, I chose 50, and for the rocket ship, I chose 40. The other thing we need is a backdrop. The way to get to backdrop is you click here, and we need a space backdrop. So we're going to look for something called stars, which is right here. And now we have a stars backdrop right here. So now we can clearly see that there's Earth, there's some crystals, and a rocket ship. Okay, so now we can get started with doing some code. The first thing I want to be able to do is move the rocket as I move my mouse. So that means I have to go and highlight this sprite first. So we're going to do that first. We're going to click on it to highlight it so that we can write some code for it. So number one, we're going to start coding the rocket ship. What we need is when clicked, when the game starts, we are going to have a position to start off with, so we can kind of start up at 0, 0. That means X is 0 and Y is 0. What is that position? If I click here, it'll be the center of the screen. The center of the Scratch screen is 0, 0. So we'll go there first. You can always test your program after doing some things, and you can see that it jumped the rocket right into the middle spot. Next thing, we are going to go to control and get a forever loop like this. The next thing is, since we want to continuously track our mouse, we will use inside the forever loop, we'll drop in a go to mouse pointer. So you have to click on this little triangle here and go to mouse pointer. Now if I run my program again, you will see that the rocket ship is tracking wherever my mouse is going. So that's what you want to be able to test. If you are done with that, you can stop and then you can get back to your code. The next thing we want to do is think about some points. How do we get points? We need to remember states, and those are done within Scratch using something called variables right here. So that's what we're going to go to. We're going to go to variables. We're going to click on this button called make a variable. Variables are nothing but things that vary over a period of time. In our case, we're going to call it POINTS, points, because we're going to you do not need to change any other setting, just points, and click OK. The minute you do that, you will see points come up right on your screen up in the window. So the first thing we want to do is get it to start collecting points. And the way to do that, at the beginning of the game, we know that the points are going to be 0. So we make another script where we say when clicked green flag, we're going to set the variable. Be very careful here. It's by default is my variable. The one that we want to is called points. So you should change this and say set points to 0. At the beginning of the game, your points are always 0. Then as we go about bumping into things like, for example, the crystal, we are going to gain points. So we say forever, and we can say if I'm the spaceship, I'm the rocket ship. While I'm going about forever, if I touch a crystal, so I can do sensing and say if touching crystal, then what do? I change my points. I win some, I collect some points, so I can go to variable and change my points by 1. That means I increased the point value every time I hit the, so I can test it quickly. So if I see every time I hit this C, it increases the points. It goes very, very quickly up, right? So this code definitely works now. This script definitely works. So we have 2 scripts here. The last script that we want to do is about a message. That means how does the game end? The game ends when I receive a certain message. So how do I do that? I go to events and look for when I receive message. In this message, I'm going to create a new message and I'm going to call it game over. So when I receive a game over message from any point in the scripts, whether it's an Earth, Crystal, rocket ship, does not matter. When I receive a trigger that the game is over, I will want to say at the end of it, say game over for 2 seconds. And then we can stop the game. And to stop the game, you can say stop all, which is right here. So you say game over for 2 seconds and then you stop all. That means the game stops. Okay, so this completes everything that we wanted to do for the rocket ship. Now let's go to the next part, which is trying to get things moving. So we're going to first get the crystals starting to move. So how do we get the crystal to start to move? So we're going to click on the crystal first, and then we're going to drag similarly in when I click crystal, I want to do some things. What I want to do really is when I click on the crystal, I want to first hide it. The reason is I want to arrange a lot of these crystals all over the place because they're kind of falling all by themselves. In the beginning, I want to place them at the right position. So I want to first hide it from view so it does not start off with the crystal showing at all. Next, I'm going to put it in a repeat block like this, and I'm going to repeat it 100 times. And every 0.2 seconds, 0.2 seconds. 0.2 seconds. I want to do something. I want to create a clone of the crystal. Right now my crystal is highlighted. I want to create a clone. What is a clone? Clone is a copy. So I'm going to create a clone of myself every zero point 0.2 seconds. Once I'm done with my, so basically it's going to run 0.2 seconds times 100 times. So that means it keeps on going again and again till 20 seconds. After the 20 seconds, it comes out of this loop. And then what do we do? That is when we broadcast. That is when we broadcast that the game is over, because our game only lives for 20 seconds. Okay, so after this, we can do a stop all to stop the code right there. So since we added a stop all here, that is better control. I do not need it in this other part, so I'll remove that. Okay, I'll go back to Crystal again. Now that you're seeing here, just to make it bigger, you have one script here whose job is to just create 100 copies every 0.2 seconds of the crystal. But what am I going to do with those crystals? So when I start with a new crystal, when I start as a clone, what do I want to do? When I start with the clone, first of all, I want to lay these guys at random position over here. And as you know very well from an earlier class, this whole distance from here to here, right? This whole distance, I'll make it red to show you. This whole distance is actually, if you start from right in the middle, this section is minus 240, and that section is, so this whole position till here is minus 240, and over here is plus 240. That's how the coordinates work in Scratch, right? So we have to, if we want to position the crystal many times, and we here randomly, I have to choose a random, pick random number between minus 240 to 240, because it can go anywhere between that, between minus 240 to 240. Okay, and then I'm going to place it by saying go to. When I start as a clone, I want to place it the X position, where here horizontally, here is, but my Y position is very close up there, something like 190. I'm going to try to test that. So once I do this and I start my program, you will see I'm going to clear everything from the screen just now, just to see. So I'm going to go and pick up, and I run my program. When I start as a clone of myself, I will put the crystal at various position. And then the other thing I want to do is make it move down. How do I move it down? The way to do that is I go here and I point it down like this. Do you see this arrow? This makes it go look down, point in direction down. And then I have to show it. So far we had just hidden it, so I cannot see it. To show it, I am going to do this. Now let's see how that works. So you see it picks up all these crystals when I test between all these positions, which is good. It is way up there because of this 190 position. And now I can start moving them down. In order to make it move down, I have to do small steps of move blocks. And I want to move it at 4 steps every single time, but in a loop. And I want to use a forever loop so that I can keep on going. Now, if you test this program, you will see they all start falling, right? And that is getting from a random place right here. That is neat. So I'm able to make my crystals fall from the sky like that, from the top of the universe. Okay, so now the next thing what we want to do is, if I touch with my rocket ship, then I should gain some points. Okay, so what we'll do is I'll put an if condition right here inside this. And I'll say if I am touching, I am the crystal, right? So if I touch the rocket ship, if I'm the crystal speaking, and I say if I touch the rocket ship, then I need to bump up my points. So I'll go back to variables and say change my points, not variable, by 1. And then once I am able to touch it, it should disappear. So how do I make it disappear, make the crystal disappear? I can delete the clone that I started. So what I'll do is delete this clone, and it should be part of the if condition, right? So the effect is this. So every time I hit one of those crystals, they disappear because I deleted the clone. So that is very cool, very nice effect. Now what we can do is add some interesting sounds to it. So what I like to do here is go to the sounds tab and then go to the library right here. And I can start typing here, and you are free to pick whatever sound you like. I like to pick this one called low gliss. And once I have that, I can go back to code, go to the sounds tab and say start sound. Right here, when I touch those things, it should make some nice sounds like that. And you saw how the points are increasing. What we haven't done is figure out, okay, what if I miss some of them and they hit the ground? That's when I start losing points. So we have to make another if condition in order for us to do that. So what we do is we go to if, this should be in parallel. It's either doing a rocket ship touching or we are doing if here. So in this case, what we are going to do is look at the Y position. So we're going to go to operators and see if Y is less than, if Y is less than minus, let's say 1, because the lowest point is 180. Maybe I want to be a little bit above that, so 150. If it is less than minus 50, and what is less than minus 50? The position of the crystal, which is the Y position. Y is going up and down. So if I take the Y position and it's less than minus 50, if I check that, if that's the case, that you have made it all the way below the minus 150 line, that's when you start losing points. So you go here and say, change my points by -1. That means you're losing points when you go below this. You still need to delete the clone, so you can go back to where you had the clone, delete clone right here. So it will be part of this if block. So it should go just below change points. So now the effect is I can kill and get more points, but if I lose some, it'll start affecting my score. You see how it gets reduced every time? So now we have a very nice setup, a game that we are able to use the rocket ship and the crystals to make this happen. If you want to make your game more interesting, you can make it like you can have the Earth, which is a safe space. You don't want rockets to bump into the Earth. If the Earths are falling or the planets are falling down as well, we can make a more interesting game, more difficult game, so that if you hit accidentally the Earth, then you lose a lot of points. So how can we do that? Essentially, it is almost the same code that we did for the crystal is what we need for the Earth in order for that to happen. So you can try yourself copying code, similar code like this one, into Earth and see if you can get that done. This is a challenge for you. A quick way to copy something uh, is done like this. You click once, right click here, make a duplicate. Once you have a duplicate, you can go and to the Earth code, and you will see the Earth code kind of move around. When you see that, you leave it, and that's how you can make a copy of that. So I'll do that again. So now you saw I copied the Earth code right here. I can actually, in this case, reduce the number of, because I don't need so many Earth, I can kind of make it really small number. So I have lesser number or fewer number of Earths coming from the top. So I just copied this code. It's very, very similar to the other one. I don't need to broadcast and game over just because I am already doing that in the crystal logic or the code for the crystal. The other thing I need is once I create a clone of the Earth, I need to make them move too. So that is this part of the code. So I can make a duplicate of this and do the same thing. I drop it, sorry, didn't happen. I need to put it in the Earth code like that. So now I have both the code copied like that. In the crystal code, as you saw, I made a duplicate, so I don't need this anymore. I'm going to delete them, so I have only one copy. Now I have what I need for the Earth. It is exactly this similar kind of concept. It makes it move down. For if you touch the rocket ship, then you can make a different kind of sound, and you can lose points also. We can make it such that if you touch with the rocket ship the Earth, then you lose at once -5 points. We can make another kind of sound here. So I'll go to the sound library and this time select something called clang, just to make it different. So now I have clang and I went to code and I'll change my music to clang. So now I have two different kinds of music, and if the Earth falls down, that is safe. I don't want to change anything, so I'm going to not delete any points, but I'll delete the Earth when it goes below this line. So now the game changed. So I have to avoid having Earths in order to gain points. If I touch the Earth, I lose a lot of points. So you can make your game interesting like that. So that is the space game. I hope you guys enjoyed. Keep on making more Scratch games. Thank you. Thank you for listening.